Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections, where pocket change can sometimes mean life-changing discoveries. If you've ever wondered whether that old dime rolling around in your drawer might be worth something more than 10 cents, today's story is going to blow your mind, because today, we're diving into the unexpected world of the 1967 Roosevelt dime. Yep, that little silver-colored coin that many people overlook could actually be worth a whole lot more than you think. And we're not just talking about a couple of bucks here. For the right dime, in the right condition, with the right features, you could be sitting on a hidden treasure. So sit tight, because this coin has a story, and if you've got one in your collection, or even in your change jar, you'll want to listen closely. Let's rewind the clock to 1967. The United States was in the midst of massive change. The summer of love was in full swing, the Vietnam War was dominating headlines, and civil rights movements were reshaping the country. Amidst all this, Americans were going about their daily lives, shopping, commuting, and dropping coins into payphones and vending machines without thinking twice. One of those everyday coins was the Roosevelt dime. Now, the Roosevelt dime had already become a familiar sight by that point. It was introduced in 1946, the year after Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away. His image replaced the Mercury dime as a tribute to his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and also to honor his work in founding the March of Dimes, which helped fight polio. The design is simple and elegant. On the front, a profile of FDR facing left, with the word Liberty at the left rim, and In God We Trust tucked beneath his chin. The date, 1967 in our case, is on the right. The reverse features a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbols of peace and strength. It's classic, patriotic, and timeless, but while the design stayed the same, something else changed in a big way. The metal. Prior to 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver. But with the rising cost of silver, the U.S. Mint made a drastic decision: remove the silver and start producing coins with a copper-nickel clad composition. That change started in 1965, so by 1967, all dimes were officially made without silver content, and that's where things start to get interesting. You see, during this transition, the mint was under intense pressure. Silver coins were being hoarded by the public, leading to coin shortages. The mint had to crank out coins in huge numbers and as quickly as possible. To speed things up, no proof sets or mint sets were released to the public in 1967, and here's the kicker: they even left off the mint marks on purpose. That's right. All 1967 dimes appear without a mint mark, no matter if they were made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, but the rush and pressure to meet demand also led to some very unusual mistakes, and when it comes to coin collecting, mistakes can be worth a fortune. We're talking about error coins. And the 1967 Roosevelt dime has a few notorious ones. One of the most sought-after errors is the misstrike, where the coin may have been struck off-center, leaving part of the design missing or distorted. Others include clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal is missing as if it was bitten off, or die adjustment strikes, where not enough pressure was used, resulting in a weak, ghost-like image. But one of the most valuable errors? The legendary 1967 Roosevelt dime struck on a silver planchet. Yes, you heard that right. Despite the fact that silver dimes were no longer being produced after 1964, a few silver blanks, also called planchets, were accidentally left in the mint's machinery and used to strike 1967 dimes. These are rare. Extremely rare. But they exist, and when collectors find one, let's just say the excitement level is sky high. So how can you tell if your 1967 dime is something special? Start by checking the weight. A regular 1967 dime weighs about 2.27 grams due to its copper-nickel clad composition. But a silver dime from the earlier era, or a rare silver 1967 era, will weigh slightly more, around 2.5 grams. That tiny difference could mean a huge increase in value. Then there's the color and sound. Silver coins have a distinct ring when dropped and a brighter, almost white shine compared to the duller gray of clad coins. These little details can be a big clue, but even without a silver error, other high-grade examples of 1967 dimes have brought in surprising prices at auction, especially those graded by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC. Coins in flawless, mint state, condition, particularly MS 67 and higher, are incredibly rare for this year. Why? Because in 1967, the mint was focusing on quantity over quality. Fewer coins were carefully struck, and fewer still were perfectly preserved. So when a collector stumbles upon a nearly flawless 1967 Roosevelt dime, bright luster, sharp detail, and no blemishes, it becomes more than just a coin. It becomes a collectible. A rarity. A conversation starter. Now here's where it all comes together. You might have a 1967 dime in your possession. Maybe you've never looked at it closely. Maybe it's been tossed into a jar or stashed away in an old envelope. But take a second look. Check its condition. Feel its weight. Compare its shine. Because if you've got the right one, maybe an error coin, maybe a silver planchet mistake, or maybe a top-graded mint state example, you could be holding on to something truly valuable. So how much could it be worth? Here's the moment you've been waiting for. If you have one of these rare 1967 Roosevelt dimes, especially in pristine, uncirculated condition, or struck on a silver planchet, it could be worth up to $40,500. Yes, you heard that right. $40,500 for a dime. So don't underestimate your change. Treasure isn't always gold bars and gemstones. Sometimes, it's 10 cents worth of mystery, history, and unexpected value. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious, legendary, and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. This isn't just a coin, it's a riddle. A myth. A treasure with a story full of intrigue, rarity, and jaw-dropping value. Let's talk about the 1894 Barber 1 dime. Yes, you heard that right, a dime. Just 10 cents. But don't let the denomination fool you. This isn't your everyday change. The 1894 Barber dime is the kind of coin that makes headlines, creates bidding wars, and sends chills down the spines of collectors around the world. So let's unravel the story behind it. First, a little background. The Barber dime was designed by Charles E. Barber, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint in the late 1800s. The design features Lady Liberty in profile, wearing a Phrygian cap and a laurel wreath, symbolizing freedom, wisdom, and strength. It's a simple yet timeless look that graced U.S. dimes from 1892 to 1916. On the reverse, we see the words, "1 dime," encircled by a delicate wreath. Nothing flashy. Just classic American coinage, clean, precise, and elegant. But what makes the 1894 Barber dime so special, it's not the design. It's not the metal content. It's the rarity. And the story behind why it's so rare is what gives this coin its legendary status. Let's go back to the year 1894. The San Francisco Mint had a strange year. For reasons that still aren't entirely clear, only 24 Barber dimes were minted that year in San Francisco. Not 24,000. Just 24 coins. That's it. There are many theories as to why this happened. Some say it was a favor from the mint superintendent, who had a few coins struck as gifts for important friends and family. Others believe it was a last-minute accounting adjustment, rounding out the mint's books. And then there's the version where a few dimes were minted, and the rest were never struck because the production of small coins was not necessary that year. Whatever the reason, the result is the same. The 1894 Barber dime became one of the rarest and most talked about coins in American history. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Of the 24 dimes minted, only 9 are known to exist today. That's right, just 9. The rest? Lost to time. Melted down. Spent unknowingly. Vanished into the ether. There's even a famous story of a young girl, allegedly the daughter of the mint superintendent, who was given a couple of these dimes as a gift. On the way home, she supposedly spent one of them on ice cream. That's right. One of the rarest coins in the world may have disappeared forever in exchange for a single scoop of vanilla. Collectors have been chasing these elusive coins for over a century. Every now and then, one resurfaces, maybe from an old family collection, maybe in a safety deposit box, or maybe at an auction where jaws drop as the bidding skyrockets. And here's what makes this coin even more incredible. Not only is it rare, but the few surviving examples are almost always in amazing condition. They were rarely used, mostly kept in private collections, and passed down with care. Imagine holding a coin that the entire collecting world knows by name. A coin so rare that even most seasoned collectors will never see one in person, let alone own it. That's the magic of the 1894 Barber dime. Now, let's talk about the value. The price of this dime has climbed steadily over the years. It's made headlines in major auctions, being sold and resold among elite collectors. Every time it appears, the buzz is electric. People hold their breath, waiting to see what the final hammer price will be, and here's the thing, this coin isn't just a collector's piece. It's an investment. It's history. It's a key to the elite level of coin collecting. Owning one of these dimes is like owning a rare painting, or a signed first edition book, except smaller, shinier, and way more mysterious. Now imagine this, you're going through an old coin collection. Maybe it belonged to your grandfather. Maybe you picked it up at an estate sale, or it's been sitting forgotten in a dusty box for decades. You come across a Barber dime from 1894. Your hands start to shake. You flip it over, and there it is, that tiny, almost invisible, mint mark from San Francisco. If it's real, if it's one of the 9, your world just changed. So, what could that coin be worth? Here's the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to own one of these incredibly rare 1894 Barber 1 dimes in excellent condition, and it's authenticated and verified, its value could reach as high as $456,500, yes, a dime. 10 cents. Worth nearly $500,000. That's the incredible story of the 1894 Barber dime, one of the greatest legends in American coin collecting. Today's video proves just that, because today, we're taking a closer look at a coin you've probably seen hundreds, if not thousands of times. You've used it to pay for parking, dropped it into vending machines, or maybe even ignored it when it fell between the couch cushions. But what if I told you that a 1974 Roosevelt dime, yes, a plain old 10-cent coin, might just be worth more than a luxury vacation, or even a brand new car? Stay with me, because the story behind this dime is way more fascinating than you might expect. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1974. It was a turbulent but iconic time in American history. Richard Nixon had just resigned in the wake of Watergate, Gerald Ford was taking over as president, and inflation was on the rise. Meanwhile, Americans were grooving to disco, watching Happy Days on TV, and waiting in line at gas stations during the energy crisis. In the middle of all that, the U.S. Mint was still doing what it does best, producing coins for everyday use. The Roosevelt dime, which had been in circulation since 1946, was still going strong. This coin was designed to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, not only for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his role in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio. The design is clean and straightforward. On the obverse, you'll see Roosevelt's profile facing left. His image is surrounded by the word liberty, the phrase, "In God We Trust," and, of course, the year, 1974. On the reverse, you'll find a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. It's a coin that reflects the American spirit in both form and function. Now, here's where things get really interesting. By 1974, dimes were no longer made from silver. That change had happened back in 1965, when the mint shifted to a clad composition of copper and nickel due to rising silver prices. So, every 1974 dime you've likely seen is clad, no silver, no special shine. Just everyday pocket change, right? Not exactly, because within the massive number of dimes minted that year, over 1.2 billion across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, there are a few rare exceptions. And those exceptions? That's where the magic is. First, let's talk condition. Most dimes from 1974 were used immediately, passed from hand to hand, jiggled in pockets, and scraped through coin slots. Over time, they got scratched, worn down, and tarnished. But a few managed to survive in pristine, uncirculated condition. These coins were never spent. Maybe they were collected by someone who noticed a unique feature, or perhaps they were sealed away in a mint set and forgotten for decades. Whatever the reason, these untouched dimes stand out. They still shine with their original mint luster, their edges are sharp, and every tiny detail, from Roosevelt's hair to the torch flame, is crystal clear. These mint state dimes are the ones that collectors crave. Now let's go a step further. Error coins. Yes, the 1974 Roosevelt dime has some fascinating mint errors that drive up its value dramatically. Imagine a coin struck off-center, where part of the design is missing, creating a strange and beautiful crescent of blank space. Or a dime struck on the wrong planchet, like a penny or foreign coin blank, resulting in the wrong size, weight, or metal. Some coins even show double die errors, where parts of the text or image appear to be ghosted or repeated. These are the happy accidents of the coin world, and they are worth far more than face value. Then there's the ever-intriguing possibility of transitional errors. While number 1974 dimes were intended to be struck in silver, there are rumors, though incredibly rare, that a few silver planchets from earlier years may have accidentally been used. If that happened, and the coin escaped into circulation, finding one would be like striking gold. And what about the mint marks? In 1974, dimes were minted at 3 different locations. Philadelphia coins had no mint mark, Denver coins carried a D, and San Francisco coins, usually for proof sets, bore an S. While the Philadelphia and Denver coins were mass-produced, proof coins from San Francisco were made with greater care and attention to detail. That makes high-grade proofs especially valuable, especially if they're preserved without any handling or damage. Now, maybe you're wondering, how could such a small coin, so common and ordinary, ever be worth thousands of dollars? Well, that's the mystery and beauty of numismatics. A coin's true value isn't always about what it looks like, it's about how rare it is, how perfect it is, and what kind of story it tells. And the 1974 Roosevelt dime has proven time and again that it can surprise even the most seasoned collectors. So maybe you have a coin jar at home. Maybe your grandparents left behind a small coin collection. Maybe you've just found an old dime in a roll of change. Don't ignore it. Examine it. Check the date. Look at the condition. You never know, you might be holding a treasure and not even realize it. Because here comes the moment we've all been waiting for. If you happen to come across a 1974 Roosevelt dime that's in flawless, mint state condition, or one with a rare minting error, or, against all odds, a silver transitional piece authenticated by experts, it could be worth as much as $37,300. Yes, you heard that right. $37,300. For a dime. So before you drop your next 10-cent piece into a vending machine, take a second look. That ordinary-looking coin might just be hiding an extraordinary secret. Today, we're diving into a coin that may seem modern, ordinary, and easy to overlook. But hold on, because the 2001 Roosevelt dime might just be the quiet jackpot hiding in your pocket, your piggy bank, or that dusty coin jar in the back of your drawer. Yes, that dime, the one you might toss on the counter without a second thought, could actually be a collectible that makes even seasoned coin experts raise their eyebrows. And in rare cases, its value goes far, far beyond 10 cents. Stick around, because today's journey through the world of U.S. coinage might just change the way you look at your change forever. Let's get into it. First, a little background. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since 1946. It was created as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his death, honoring his role in guiding the country through the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his efforts in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio. The coin's design has barely changed since its introduction. On the front, or obverse, you'll see Roosevelt's familiar profile, facing left, with the word "Liberty" on the left edge. Just below that is the national motto, "In God We Trust," and on the right, the year, 2001. Flip it over, and you've got the reverse side featuring a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch on the left for peace and an oak branch on the right for strength. Simple. Iconic. Instantly recognizable. But here's the thing about coins: while billions are minted each year, not all coins are created equal. Some come out of the mint with flaws. Others are struck in strange ways or on the wrong material. Some are simply preserved in perfect condition against all odds. And those rare instances are where the magic happens. Let's talk specifically about the year 2001. Over 1.5 billion Roosevelt dimes were struck that year across the United States Mint's three primary locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of them entered circulation immediately. They were used to buy snacks, pay for parking meters, or dropped into piggy banks, vending machines, and tip jars, but a tiny number, just a handful, of these coins turned out to be extraordinary. First up, error coins. These are coins that were made incorrectly, due to mechanical issues, misalignment, or even human error. And while that might sound like a mistake, in the world of numismatics, a mistake is often pure gold. There are a few different types of valuable errors that have been documented in 2001 Roosevelt dimes, for example, off-center strikes. That's when the coin blank isn't aligned properly in the press, so the design is struck partly off the edge. The more off-center it is, without completely losing the date or mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. Then there are double die errors, where the die itself has shifted slightly between strikes, causing parts of the image or lettering to appear doubled. These can be subtle, like a slight shadow, or very bold, especially in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." And don't forget the mysterious planchet errors. Sometimes, a dime gets struck on the wrong type of metal blank, like a penny or even a foreign coin planchet. That results in coins with strange weights, colors, or sizes, and collectors absolutely go wild for them. But maybe you're not into errors. Maybe you're wondering, what if I have a 2001 dime that looks completely normal? Good question. Even standard 2001 dimes can be worth a lot if they're in perfect condition. We're talking about mint state coins that have never seen circulation. These dimes are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC on a 70-point scale. A grade of MS 67, MS 68, or higher for a 2001 Roosevelt dime is extremely rare. Why? Because most coins from this era weren't made with the intention of being collectibles. People used them. They got scratched, dented, and worn down fast. So, finding a flawless, untouched, mirror-like dime from 2001 is like finding a needle in a haystack. And when collectors do find that needle, bidding wars begin. Also worth mentioning, proof coins.in 2001, the San Francisco Mint struck special proof versions of the Roosevelt dime. These coins weren't meant for circulation. Instead, they were carefully struck with polished dies, often multiple times, to give them that ultra-smooth, reflective surface and razor-sharp detail. If you've got a proof dime from 2001, especially one graded highly by PCGS or NGC, you could already be holding something valuable. And now, here comes the big moment. After all this talk about rarity, mint errors, pristine condition, and collector demand, you might be wondering just how much a 2001 Roosevelt dime could be worth at the top end of the market. Here's the answer. If you happen to own a 2001 Roosevelt dime in perfect uncirculated condition, or one with a significant mint error, or even a high-grade proof coin preserved in flawless form, it could be worth as much as $30,000. That's right. $30,000. For a dime you could easily overlook or spend without a second thought. So what's the takeaway? It's simple: never underestimate your change. Always check your coins. Because hidden among the everyday pieces of currency are rare gems that tell a story, carry history, and in some cases, hold serious value. Today, we're going to talk about a coin that might seem completely ordinary, but it actually has the potential to be worth a small fortune. That's right, we're talking about the 2005 Roosevelt dime. You might have used one in the vending machine or tossed it in your spare change jar, but let me tell you, there's much more to this coin than meets the eye. So stick around to the end, because the shocking value of this dime will definitely surprise you. So, let's start by looking back at 2005. It was a year full of historic moments. Star Wars Episode III hit theaters, YouTube was just starting to become the global sensation it is today, and the world was still dealing with the aftermath of the devastating tsunami in Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, the US Mint was going about its job, producing millions of coins for circulation, including the Roosevelt dime, the Roosevelt dime has been around since 1946, created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death, and it's been a cornerstone of U.S. currency ever since. You're probably familiar with the coin. On the obverse side, you have Roosevelt's profile, facing left, with the word Liberty above and, In God We Trust, to the right. Below Roosevelt's neck, the year, 2005, is stamped. On the reverse side, you'll see a torch with an olive branch on one side and an oak branch on the other, representing liberty, peace, and strength. It's a design that speaks to the essence of the nation. Now, you're probably wondering what could possibly make a 2005 Roosevelt dime worth anything more than its face value, just 10 cents. Well, it all comes down to condition and rarity. Most of the dimes produced in 2005 were struck by the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's the twist: not all of them were made the same way. You see, while most dimes from 2005 were mass-produced and circulated in everyday transactions, some were struck with rare minting issues, and that's where the real value lies. For starters, let's talk about error coins. These are the diamonds in the rough of the coin-collecting world. Sometimes, due to mishaps in the minting process, coins are struck incorrectly, either off-center, with double strikes, or on the wrong planchet entirely. Imagine a dime that's missing part of its design, or one that's been struck multiple times in slightly different places, causing parts of the image to overlap. These types of errors are rare, and collectors go absolutely crazy for them. One of the most exciting errors that can happen with the 2005 Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. When a coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, the design gets struck off-center. In some cases, the coin may even have part of the design cut off entirely. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. So, if you happen to find a 2005 dime with this kind of error, you could be holding a treasure worth much more than 10 cents. Another type of error that can add significant value is the double die error. This happens when the coin die that strikes the coin is misaligned or gets hit multiple times. The result? Some parts of the coin, like the lettering or the portrait of Roosevelt, appear to be doubled or duplicated. Double die errors are highly sought after by collectors because they are so unique and rare. But maybe you're thinking, okay, I don't have an error coin. What if I just have a regular 2005 dime? Don't worry, there's still hope. Even if your dime is in mint condition, it could still be worth a pretty penny. A coin that has been well preserved, untouched, and stored in perfect condition is often referred to as a mint state coin. Coins like these were never used in circulation, which means they haven't been scratched, worn down, or subjected to the daily wear and tear of regular use. The dimes minted in 2005 were mostly used for everyday transactions, which means it's incredibly rare to find one in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's why, if you happen to have a 2005 Roosevelt dime that looks brand new, bright, shiny, with no scratches or blemishes, it could be worth far more than just 10 cents. These mint state coins are very desirable to collectors, and when they're graded highly by professional services like PCGS or NGC, they can command impressive prices at auction. And let's not forget about the proof coins. In 2005, the U.S. Mint also produced proof versions of the Roosevelt dime, but these weren't meant for circulation. Proof coins are struck with extra care, usually multiple times, to give them a polished, mirror-like finish and incredible detail. These coins were sold in special sets, not distributed through regular channels, which makes them even more rare. Proof coins in perfect condition can be worth significantly more than a standard circulation dime, especially if they've been professionally graded and preserved. So, you're probably wondering, how much could this dime really be worth? Well, the market for rare, well-preserved dimes, especially those with minting errors or in near-perfect condition, can be incredibly lucrative for collectors. Here's the exciting part. If you have a 2005 Roosevelt dime that's been preserved in excellent condition, free from scratches, dings, or other imperfections, or if you happen to find one with a rare minting error like an off-center strike or a double die error, you could be sitting on a coin worth as much as $32,000. Yes, you heard that right. $32,000 for a coin that you may have never given a second thought. It's a reminder that sometimes, treasure comes in the smallest of packages. So, next time you dig into your change jar or check the coins in your wallet, take a closer look at that 2005 Roosevelt dime. It could very well be the hidden gem you never expected. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins and the amazing possibilities they can hold, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest discoveries. And remember, always check your change, because you never know when you might find your own pocketful of treasure. Until next time, keep collecting and stay curious. Because sometimes, the most valuable things are the ones we least expect.